had just resigned my six-figure job in America's finest orchestra. What would I do next? I knew what I wanted to do. And I had some idea how to go about it, but I had a lot to learn and no one to teach me. This kind of life experience wasn't taught when I was in school, and it's only beginning to be taught in schools now. I'd like to share with you what I've learned today as I forged a career as a performer, educator, and composer by learning to be a manager, promoter, audio and video technician, festival organizer, grant writer, personnel manager, psychologist, technician, and carpenter. Music is a huge industry. And while being a successful musician remains difficult, there are more musicians and more opportunities than ever. Some of what I learned is just general good relations skills that could serve you in any facet of a musical or non-musical career. Play well. It often goes without saying, but I wanted to remind you of a great quote from a colleague of mine. When he was asked what his greatest challenge and greatest joy as a musician were, he said, "My greatest challenge is to play my best, no matter what I think of the music, conductor, or the other musicians involved. And my greatest joy is when everyone else does the same. Always play your best." Schmooze. Socializing before, during, and after events is as important as your performance. Don't neglect being friendly and sociable with colleagues, conductors, presenters, donors, board members, faculty, and anyone else involved in your project. You won't always have all those people with every project. Look good. There are plenty of beautiful people who have greater careers than better but ugly performers. While not everyone can be Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, you must always look and act your best. Be nice, be kind, be forgiving. Be careful what you say and to whom you say. Don't volunteer your opinion, only give it when asked. And then be honest and kind. Don't talk about others behind your back. If you have a problem with someone, ask them, address them directly. Consult contractors and managers for advice if you want it when you have a situation like that. Lead by example and be patient. Now, I know that you all have training, and even beyond the usual musician or music student, you have training as far as the military goes with its code and things like that. So some of that I just went over is even more of a duff for you than usually the crowds that I just talk to. Always be truthful. Yeah. A problem created by a painful truth is better than a lie uncovered later. Honor your commitments. If a better gig comes along, you can cancel a prior engagement. You should be prepared for the consequences. If people are upset with you, don't hold it against them. It's rare that the new gig will be so great that you really should break the old gig. But when it is, sometimes the old gig contractor will understand and be happy for your big opportunity. You certainly don't want a reputation as a canceller, especially a last-minute canceller. Reciprocate whenever possible. For example, if someone asks you to play with their group or on their series, ask them to play with your group or on their series or at your school or whatever situation you may have. Follow-up phone calls are indispensable, especially when you don't hear back within a week. Phone calls and voicemail are harder to avoid than email. Never text professionally unless you know the person very well. And you should never conduct business via text. Stick to email and documents for times, places, directions, fees, and other official business. Oftentimes with younger oftentimes with younger people, they're more into the new cutting edge technology. They want to text and things like that. But phone calls, real old school technology, is the way to follow up your first communication. A cold call on its own without prior email or a letter is probably not a good idea. Yes?
Actually, you kind of touched upon it.
Okay.
With the popularity of texting, I'm finding that professionals in other industries are going to that first.
Yeah, texting can be good for certain situations, but I wouldn't enter into a fee negotiation via text. That just doesn't, I don't think it's good. And I certainly wouldn't be the initiator of texting communication. You know, if somebody starts texting you a lot of stuff about whatever thing you're happening, you know, they're doing it because it's convenient for them, and you want to make things convenient for them too. And then, so responding in kind with text is, I think, fine. If the person who you're dealing with is the initiator of that.
That's going to be double and short because you don't sometimes need, there's no.
Right.
It can be interpreted differently.
Yeah, and any text
Don't
has
like
that
that.
problem. Yeah, for sure. But when you need to follow up, and I think follow-ups are great. You know, you want to play with an orchestra, or you want to, do a recital on such and such a series, or you want to play your group, comes to this hall and play, then, you send them information and all that stuff. But then, no matter what happens, if you haven't heard from them in a week, you call. Because then they're gonna have those two things. They know you're serious about it, and they know that they need to respond to this. Sometimes they're really busy. You might have to call twice. After that, I might give up. But calls are indispensable. Personally, invite important people to your events. This is a great way to get people who control the music business near you to hear you. People like conductors, recital series contractors, local band directors, especially if you're trying to get students, and even city council, who may be responsible for granting organizations. Like when I get grants from For Culture, I invite city council or county council members because they're the people who fund For Culture. It's good for them to feel like they could come to an event that they've helped happen, and it's also important to remind them how important a group like For Culture is. That's the King County. It's terrible name. That's the King County Arts Council, basically. They changed their name to number 4 Culture. Anyway, a physical mailing with a personal note is probably the best way to do this, but a nice personalized email, and I don't mean like a blanket email that you just switch their name out, like a sentence or two about personal. I'm really happy that you are supporting blah blah blah, and I'd love to see you at the concert. Okay, now on to more specific music career kind of stuff, and you guys who obviously already have music careers know, I'm sure, a good deal of this, and you may have differing opinions, and I'd love to have a discussion about that as we go along. But this is mostly based on what I've learned, and I've learned from my own career and colleagues. Resumes. Have several different resumes and CVs targeted at different parts of your career. Teaching, composition, recording, orchestral playing, whatever it is that you do. Like if you play in a rock band and play chamber music, then have the different ones so that when you're addressing that specific thing, you can address it that way. Also keep one comprehensive resume or CV or both, as well as a comprehensive list of all your performances and compositions if you're a composer or arranger, etc. Have several biographies of different lengths and focuses as well. Try to include something memorable or funny or unusual, like a short personal philosophy about music or your instrument. Make yourself sound great, but never fabricate with phony accomplishments or reviews. I've seen that way too often. For example, it's okay to say you appeared on a Grammy-winning CD when you were in the orchestra, but that doesn't mean you can call yourself a Grammy winner. And I've seen that. Press kits. Oh, yeah, this is my pass around handout. So I brought 2 press kits as an example today. We'll start one here, we'll start one here. Press kits are a great thing to have just to give out. And I've got a few that are just like sitting around ready to go. And I also have an electronic version. Electronic versions are really good to have. If you got a website's really easy to get. And the basic things, they're useful when seeking a manager, solo appearances, employment at school, university, other situations. A standard press kit contains a 1 sheet, and that's the, actually let me show you just, and then it'll be passed around. So the 1 sheet is picture, some bullet points, a really short bio, and some contact information. Often it can be two-sided, this one's only one-sided, and I've included a photo page with some other stuff to sort of accompany that. And you may have seen these before for various bands or groups. Managers have, I had a manager once that she was a crook, so I don't have her anymore. And, but she had these things made up, they were two-sided, and you just use them in the ends. Now I use them basically for the press kit. So then also in addition to the one sheet, and that's really the thing that should go on top. You have a biography, a resume, list of reviews, discography, repertoire list, photos, and an audio CD or some other audio files like thumbstick or something like that. Depending on your needs, it can also contain sample programs, educational programs, list of compositions, list of published articles, letters of recommendation from important people, DVDs, or other pertinent material. If you guys have some, some really big name person you collaborate with, some big conductor or some soloist that comes on, or you're doing some gig somewhere else, and I don't know, Gina Menzel or whatever, or something, you can get a recommendation, letter of recommendation from them to just sort of have on file. So-and-so was great, loved working with them, and you should totally hire them. Just a generalized thing. It's cool. It's a good thing to have. Freelancing. When you want to be on a sublist for a local orchestra, or recording group, or jazz band, etc., first contact the principal for your instrument. Ask if you can play for them. Even as vague a request as this can be seen as asking for a lesson. So be prepared for that perspective from the principal. If you are actually interested in giving advice on playing, career, etc., then do ask for a lesson. At the meeting, ask if you should contact the orchestra manager or contractor with your resume. If, however, the principal is not responsive to your phone calls and emails, contact the orchestra manager or contractor anyway. Regardless of whether you hear back from either, personally invite them to important local performances you're giving, like chamber music recital or concertos, not orchestra performances. Inviting the principal or orchestra manager to a performance is also an alternative to personally playing for them, but it only works if they show up, and it's a bigger time commitment on their part. Recordings. This is a part of the industry that is in huge flux right now. But I believe that personally producing commercial recording is a great way to get your name out in the world, an important part of a press kit, and especially when applying for university positions. It's still important to have physical objects like a CD to give out and point to, and it's easier than you may think to make one. You can raise money through grants, private donations, put up the money yourself. You'll need an engineer, studio space, and usually other musicians. It's important to have another musician you respect in the recording booth listening, if you can. They're there to catch mistakes and to help you make sure you got everything you want. Make sure you get good microphones. The clarinet, for example, is a very difficult instrument to record. It's kind of like a soprano voice, and the instruments that work, or the microphones that work for a lot of other instruments don't really work for clarinet. So it's critical, and I'd imagine that there are quirks with regards to microphones from every instrument. So go an hour or two ahead of time and try out a bunch of different ones, listen to them carefully and see what you like. In Seattle, we're really lucky to have a studio whose primary mission is to grant studio time to people. It's rare, but in other places there may be something like that. It's called Jack Straw. And all they do is give out grants for studio times. And I got a grant for free studio time, and I made one CD there, and I got a grant for half price studio time, and I made another CD there. So it's a great organization. Recording repertoire that has not been recorded before can generate more press and sales. Choose something you're excited about. But if you're not well known, you probably won't get very far with the recording of Brahms sonatas, competing with the other 150 recordings out there. Producing a CD can be tricky. You can end up paying the CD company thousands of dollars for their work, mostly manufacture and distribution. Naxos has a good business model these days, and CD Baby is a good low-cost option for production and distribution. You can also manufacture and distribute them yourself, which you can do under your own label. Getting online places like Amazon to sell them is not too difficult either. Amazon will almost sell anything. They have a program with regards to that. I have a great relationship with Albany Records, and I recommend them as well. Simultaneously shop your master around the different labels to see what kind of deals you can get. Don't do consecutive. That was a mistake I made with my first CD. I would give it, I'd send it to one record company, and they'd say, oh yeah, okay, well, we'll be able to take a look at it in a couple months. And then I wouldn't hear back, and I wouldn't hear back. And 9 months later, I was like, have you heard it? Oh yeah, we listened to it now, we're not interested. And then I'd send it to the next place. And then it was like a couple of years. So finally, I just took all the people on my list and just sent them the master simultaneously. And what I ended up getting was 2 people who were interested in doing it, and they kept bidding each other down so that I got a really good deal. Did you get it?
I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
So for the CD Baby, Albany, are those your record label Albany? Are you saying you did your mass production through them?
So I'll put up the money to record, and then I have a master. And then you can send that to different companies, like Albany, and you say, I would like to have this produced and distributed by you, which is basically what you're going to do. And a company that's as well known as Albany does a couple things that I just don't have to worry about. Every record store in the world can get it or carry it. It's automatically on Amazon, it's automatically on iTunes. And they send it out to be reviewed, and I don't have to do that either. Although I do send it to other places that they don't send it to when it gets produced, so I can maybe generate more reviews. Because that's something I need to put into the speech.
So is there, in your process, was it like you recorded your own paid for recording,
Right.
and then you could do something like send it to Jack Straw and then get them to grant you on based on that?
So what you would do for Jack Straw would be, that's a recording studio.
Right.
So what I would do is, Jack Straw, you submit a grant proposal, and they have very specific requirements for what that grant proposal is. Like, they want to know what your project is, what the repertoire is, who you are, what you're going to do with it once it's been recorded, and things like that. And based on what you give in those answers in that proposal, they will award you, say, 40 hours of free studio time with an engineer. And so then you could record it there at Jack Straw, and you wouldn't have to pay any money to the recording studio or the engineer. You wouldn't have to rent any microphones. You wouldn't have to rent a piano.
How do they get their money out of that?
They don't get money. It's a nonprofit, and they get donations from public and private granting organizations like For Culture, or like Washington State Arts Commission, or like Boeing and Amazon. And then they have that money that they use to run the studio, and they give the studio space for free to other people. And then additionally, you can pay to use the studio as well. They don't give you the grant. And you can become a member and get a discount on the paying for the studio. So they run it like a regular studio too. They just have granting programs for free time.
If you were mass distributing your CD as a product, what purposes other than selling the CDs to earn income would qualify for
Well,
such a grant?
in the jazz and classical world, I would not consider a recording a good source of income, especially in the days of Spotify and Pandora, where you get 1/1,000,000th of a penny for every play. So I am never, ever, ever going to see any money from either of those two organizations. And I will never see any money from the free stuff that has been posted without my consent or with my consent on YouTube. But if someone buys the track off iTunes or Amazon or buys the CD, then according to my contract, I will eventually get some money. But I've put in way more money than I will ever get out of that. The reason I have it is because having a commercial CD shows to the people that you're trying to get to hire you that you can have other people who have power believe in you, that you can see a big project through to fruition, that you are a creative individual who can come up with a plan and record repertoire, and hopefully additionally, put out a really great product. And also, when people say, what do, you can say, here.
Well stated, thank you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yes?
So the recording studio, do you go to someone else for the mastering?
So mastering is a tricky thing when it comes to jazz and classical. Most of the time when they do it like in pop music and rock music and things like that, when they master, is they take all the different dynamics and make them all the same, which is the exact opposite of what we want. So I've never had my Stevie's mastered, but when I refer to the term master, that's like this finished product, and usually it's just a CD-ROM that I'm sending to people. And those are good enough files for them to then manufacture like a product that's manufactured and distributed. They print these things, the CDs, in Belgium. Albany does. Yeah, and so particularly when you're applying for a university job, they want to know that you can do big projects. Sometimes people do their tenure, and all they do is produce one CD for their tenure. That's like all that's required of the big tenure project process. And so if you've got one already, they're gonna be like, we know this person is gonna get tenure. All right, I'm gonna skip that part on streaming because we already talked about it. So, chamber music. Forming a chamber music group is not only fun, but a way to get more concerts. I love chamber music, actually, it's my favorite music. People love chamber music, and presenters who might not be interested in you as a recitalist will often be interested in your quartet, quintet, trio, or whatever. Grants are also easier to get for groups than individuals. Find people you get along with. The repertoire will come later. Because, we've probably all been in that situation where we're playing in a clarinet quartet or a brass quintet or whatever. And four, you get along great, and there's one person you all want to strangle. So why put yourself through that just to be able to play any particular piece? So, if it's oboe d'amore, Jew's harp, and tuba, great, do transcription. New music. Composers love to hear their own music. I can definitely speak to that. Playing new music is a great way to get more exposure. It's also important to know how to do extended techniques, which is a term that really needs to be retired. Flap tonguing, flutter tonguing, portamento, multiphonics, quarter tones, and other sounds are important to know, especially if you're on the university professor track. And they're no more extended than pizzicato or tremolo. There are composer groups all over the US, and they're constantly looking for musicians they can pay for their concerts. It sometimes doesn't pay very well, but they do all the publicity, and it looks great on your CV, and sometimes there's a bigger performance of the same piece in your future, possibly with crowd. So for example, the College Music Society has chapters around the country, and they put on presentations periodically throughout the year. And sometimes the presentation that happens here will then maybe go on to some sort of national convention of the College Music Society. Or NACUSA, which I can't remember what that stands for. It's a composer organization, and the chapter in the Northwest is highly active. In fact, they're talking about doing an exchange with Cuba, which is like so exciting. And they're like, they sent out an email like, would any of you be interested? And I was like, hell yeah! So, it could be fun. And personally, I love music. I think it's great. And the more versatile you are, the more things you want to do, the more things you can do, the more employable and marketable you are. I also encourage you all to start writing music of your own. It's a great window into interpreting other people's music, and it's an enriching experience for yourself. Grants and private donations. Grants often scare new people. Remember that granting organizations want to give away money. Often they have staffers whose job it is to help you write the grant. Take advantage of free workshops and one-on-one help. Private granting organizations for music are rare. So a private granting organization might be like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, but they don't really deal with the arts much. It's mostly just youth-friendly. Cross-disciplinary granting organizations are great ways to collaborate with dancers, painters, etc., and increase your performance possibilities. There's also some money available from teaching institutions you may be affiliated with. So for example, if you happen to be like an adjunct teacher at Pacific Lutheran University, then they may have some small amount of granting money to help you with your project. And sometimes that might be in-kind stuff. So for example, if you're associated with, say, PLU, you can use one of their halls to record in there, maybe one of their engineers, and that would be like an in-kind donation. You guys all understand what in-kind is? In-kind donations? Let's see. Some of this and some of this. So, like, I have a clarinet festival, and I have made arrangements with the clarinet professor at Seattle University to host us there. So I can hall and the piano tuning and the recording engineer without having to pay for it. So that's an in-kind donation. And when I make the budget proposal for the grant, I include $2,000 for hall rental in expenses, and then in income, I put $2,000 in-kind donation of hall rental. Okay? And that's also really important because they want to know that you can handle a lot of money, even if it's all, you know, basically barter. What?
Phantom money.
Phantom money, yeah, Bitcoins. All right. Public granting organizations are prevalent. If you want here, there's grant. And who knows, maybe the Army's got some projects. Okay, I hear some scoffing sounds out there. Anyway.
That's right, funding the jazz combo.
We're looking at gas.
Okay. Check with your city, county, state, and country. Ironically, red states complain about funding of the arts, but they usually spend more money than blue states do. I can get all kinds of concerts in North Carolina, Louisiana. But Massachusetts, California, forget it. So, many granting organizations have an unwritten policy of never granting to first-time applicants. So keep at it. I mean, I applied to Artist Trust 4 times before I gave up. And really the kicker for me was that they prohibited the submission of scores, and their panels almost never have a musician on them. So don't let rejection deter you. They also often have 3-year existence requirements, and these are for groups. Some of them have 3-year 501c3 requirements. I'll get to that in a minute. You can solicit private donations from friends, colleagues, fellow club or church members, etc. Offer something in exchange. Like for $100, they get invited to a rehearsal. And music fans, you know, they love to see the inner workings of what goes on. It's all mysterious to them. The classical industry particularly is made quite a cash cow out of the industry. You know, for $1,000, they could get a private concert. Let your donors know that you appreciate them by naming them as season sponsors or program sponsors. Like, season sponsor is Boeing, the program sponsor is Mr. and Mrs. Smith. List donors in your program and on your websites. Companies will put up money if there's something in it for them, like advertising, a thank you, or other consideration. I once had a friend get Bex to sponsor a private party at his house. They gave him a free keg, and all he had to do was use the cups that said Bex. Companies are especially interested in 501c3 nonprofits because those donations are tax deductible. And many match their employee donations. Like, for example, Microsoft has automatic deductions for any kind of 501c3 charity or anything like that from paychecks. And then they match it dollar for dollar. So my friend Jay who works at Microsoft, he might have $5, $10, or 2% a month taken out of his paycheck and given to, I don't know, Hopeland. And then Microsoft matches dollar for dollar. It's a great program. And if you have 501c3 status, you can get on those lists at every company that you can get on those lists for. So getting 501c3 status requires a lot of paperwork, and the IRS website is really confusing. But you know, it can be done. And there are law firms that do this, and you can pay them, but also law firms are required by law to do a certain amount of pro bono work. So they might be interested in all the paperwork for you. You can also incorporate as an organization that's generally really just you. I mean, individuals incorporate as organizations all the time, like running for president. All of these ideas also apply to Kickstarter campaigns, Indiegogo, and other sort of crowdsourced funding. Performances. We've all used churches. We're using one today. They're reliable, inexpensive, and community-minded spaces. Also consider cafes, community centers, pubs, and other slightly unusual venues. You can sometimes generate new audiences that way, as well as make your story more appealing to the press. And getting into the press is really a great way to get more people interested in you. And sometimes it's tricky, and sometimes it depends on whether it's a slow news day or not. But if you're going someplace unusual, something that's different, something that's out of the ordinary, then they will love that. Retirement homes are an old favorite. They're usually free and have a piano, and the audiences are always appreciative. They're great for giving practice recitals before your big recital. Concert halls and universities are great as well, and often worth the extra money because you can be listed on their house publicity and get audiences that are used to attending there. Park concerts can also be fun. Think outside the box. Festivals. A great way to attract attention to you or your group is to run a festival. A festival usually consists of several concerts or events over a short space of time, like a week or a weekend. Other events like lectures, videos, other presentations to enrich the experience are often on a festival. A theme that attracts more attention, press and audience is a great idea. You can also use that for single performances too. I've been running my clarinet festival, Clarinetist, for 16 years now. Through public and private donations, I've managed to keep it free. It's grown from one concert to a weekend-long event with vendors, master classes, workshops, community clarinet choir, a special guest, and 2 recitals. I charge the vendors for the space, and I sell ads in the program, and then I get grants and private donations. You could build a festival around an event, a country, a composer, or many other themes. Like, for example, a South American music festival, partnered with your local Brazilian community center. Or a festival of chamber music and dance, partnered with a local dance troupe. Or a festival to commemorate a special event in your community, like Founders Day. My former chamber music group, Quake, once did a few concerts based on the idea of chronicling the voyage of Lewis and Clark on its bicentennial. So we played music from every 50 years of those 200 years. Started with a piece from 1803, finished with something modern, which is actually Nirvana. We started with Beethoven and ended with Nirvana. Students. If you're seeking a university position, the College Musical Society advertises most full and some part-time positions. Many colleges and universities have only adjunct positions for many teachers, and that trend seems to be moving in that direction. Contact local schools just as you would the local orchestra. If there's no clarinet teacher currently, send a letter and press kit to the local department heads and follow up with a phone call. Get to know the teachers in your area and keep your ears open for when someone might be moving on. For high school and younger students, I contact and maintain good relations with all the band directors in my area. Well, the ones who are willing to return phone calls. You can volunteer to spend a day with their clarinet section or whatever section you see as bring materials on your lessons to hand out. I have a little flyer, and in there, I was this great idea for my brother, who's not a musician at all. He said, why don't you have a coupon for a free lesson? It's great. So I'm getting more students coming, oh, here's the coupon. And then they're like, well, I guess I'll call you. And they do. So I like that idea a lot. The beginning and end of the year are good times to volunteer with the sections because that's when students are thinking about lessons. Beginning of the year, they're like, oh, I didn't practice all summer, I guess I need to sign up for some help. Or at the end of the year when they're like, oh, summer's coming, I'm going to have time, I don't have 63 AP classes to do, so let's have some clarinet lessons over the summer. After winter break or before winter break, it's good because sometimes people have extra money for Christmas or they can ask for clarinet lessons, it's a Christmas gift. You can also partner with an instrument or accessory manufacturer to give you some budget for any of these school visits, so you're not completely volunteering, or other kinds of clinics, like you might give a master class at a local music store. If you mention these manufacturers, use their product, or advocate for their product, or have equipment for the students to try, then they'll pay you for that event, which you will do that as well. I partner with Con Selmer and Selmer Paris and Dadar, who makes mouthpiece instruments. Okay, so lastly, the internet. It's a powerful tool. We all know how powerful it is. And things are starting to sort of settle down in a certain direction, but there's always the next thing on the horizon. You know, someday nobody's going to be on Facebook. Get a website. It's really important. You can include all the publicity, biographies, resume, emails, everything you need there. Websites are cheap, hosting is cheap, domains are cheap, and sometimes designers are too. But you can learn HTML pretty easily. It's a very easy language. I have one book, and I've been using it now for 15 years. I like the slick look of professionally done pages. I really do, but I prefer good content over pizzazz. So I guess that's why I've never paid to have it done. When you go to my website, it's black, there's a picture, there's table of contents. Just giving you information. That's all I'm really interested in doing. So feel free to check out mine, osbornmusic.com. So I have information about performing, composing, teaching, as well as a digital press kit, schedule of concerts, a news page, and I already told you about jokes. I post educational essays and videos there, and performance audio and video compositions, many other things, and of course links to my other websites. So I also make sure that I publicize and link all these events and things that I do to my Facebook band page. It's a band, Sean Osborn. I like having separated my personal life so that people who are interested in my clarinet playing don't have to hear me ranting about concerts. All right, you can create Facebook event pages for basically every important concert you do. It's also a great, easy way to refer people to information or for them to stumble across information. I also have a huge YouTube page. I mentioned that a little bit before with performance educational videos and more coming all the time. It's a great way to reach a larger audience, especially a younger audience. My current 3 educational series are orchestral excerpts, extended techniques, and 10 steps to a great clarinet technique. And that's where the reading video is. Also, if you're interested in the articulation section, I have a little tiny, both on my website and then on the YouTube page in the 10 steps to a great clarinet, we got a camera go inside my mouth while I was playing, so you can see the tongue hitting the reed, and you can see the reed vibrating. It's cool. Like you can't really see it vibrating, you just see it suddenly appear to be like this. Because it's just a big blur. The resolution is not too great, but it's kind of interesting. It's all right. So recently I started using a website called Patreon. I had some limited success with it, but I haven't done a lot of promoting it. Patreon is kind of like Kickstarter, only for sustained support. So what it is people can give you per posting money, like $1 every time I post something, something gives me $1. I have a post, someone will give me $5 with a monthly maximum of $10. So those are great resources, and there are some people who make their living with Patreon website. I think it's a little bit better set up for people who do things like web comics, things that are visual and easy to get. And I see a lot of web comics that I read. They are all on Patreon.com. I don't know how successful it's been for musicians. I haven't been looking around, but you know, for people like Carly Jepsen, she probably can make good money for that. But for classical, it doesn't cost you anything, so you might as well do it. I mean, if you're a composer, you should join ASCAP because it doesn't cost you anything, and they give you money when people play your music. So that's why I put most of my compositions on my website for free. Because, you know, if someone's going to go, I don't know if I want to spend $10 on this, but they download for free, they're like, hey, I'm going to play this. You know, ASCAP surveys the performances around the country, around the world actually, and then they sort of divvy up the money they collect and give it out to composers. So, you know, any of these organizations, particularly the ones that are free, I highly recommend joining. Get over Patreon. Feel free to check out the Patreon page and see. The way you can entice people with is like give it exclusive content to donors or preview content to donors. So when I release like a new video or a new composition, what I usually do is I'll release it to the Patreon people for a month, and then everybody else gets a jump start on that. All right.